Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mindset Nebula, where we talk tech, we talk design, we talk all things SAP, including careers, and especially our topic for today, which is going to be completely focused on SAP BTP. So, with us today are some esteemed colleagues of mine. So, from our India offices, we have Ablash Gampa, who leads a lot of our innovations and accelerators delivery on BTP. We have Juhi, which is joining us from the delivery team and working on BTP and a very good writer within the BTP space as well. We also have Matthew Wiggum from the US, who leads our Mindset Lab space, which is completely focused on BTP. We also have Ethan Jewett, who is no stranger to all of you in the podcast world, who focuses a lot on our technology vision and everything that we can and can't do with SAP. So let's jump in, folks. When we're going to talk about BTP a lot this year, I think. So we wanted to kind of start off with SAP BTP, SAP themselves, and a lot of their focus areas for 2023. So when we look to where we focus as a consulting partner, where we see our customers investing long term, we see a lot of things within the BTP space. But as we look into where SAP is end-to-end focused for 2023, we see three huge things, right? They're obviously still trying to get people into S4. Sounds like a never-ending game sometimes. So there's a lot of transformation activities, and you hear this word for the last couple of years called RISE. And RISE is still their 100% focus to get people transformed to SAP S4. Secondly, we hear BTP adoption over and over and over again, whether it's from the partner side, whether it's from the customer side. And the third is sustainability. So before we go any farther, anybody would jump in with thoughts around kind of those focus areas for 2023 from SAP?
I mean, it sounds about right, John. Go ahead, Avi.
Yeah, so the build focus from SAP is SAP is doing a lot of changes in this space, especially focusing on the citizen developers, easing the tools to build, do a lot of automation. When it comes to automation, just from the form building and process automation, everything can be done with a low-code approach. So in that perspective, SAP has renamed existing products and improvised a lot of products under the one build tool set, right? And build process under part of a build process automation. So where we have the build process automation and build forms and work zone are the main areas, right? So even the launchpad is renamed as work zone standard edition, and there is an advanced edition where we can use a lot of standard features, and workflow and IRPA is combined into a new tool called process automation, build process automation, right? So there are still a lot of differences when come to IRPA and workflow here, but all these things are very easy. Like we don't need expert developers or technical people to build those applications. The citizen developers, the business people can, with the minimal training, they can develop these applications. So SAP is moving in this direction pretty fast in 2023. So the beginning itself is SAP has opened the challenge, like, okay, the tool sets are ready and it's all what we build using that, right?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and there's a lot of changes that we're going to discuss in detail here in the questions that we have for some folks here today too. And overall, SAP in general and some of the events that they put on, especially in the beginning of the year here, seems like just this is the top focus, right? BTP, how it's changing, what it's looking like, how can we get people into it? I don't know, maybe Matthew, you've gone to some live events with BTP as the focus recently here in the US. So what have you kind of seen them talk about within this space? Just the high level focus, how far they're trudging down this path, and And what have you seen from a lot of those presentations there?
Yeah, SAP's focus with BTP is at the forefront. You know, BTP is incredibly important for SAP. It's going to be their future business model for a time to come, even past end of life for S4. It might not be called BTP because we know SAP's, they love renaming things, but
Depends on the
the
day.
cloud model, the cloud service model, is not going away. They're very much centered on this idea of an intelligent, sustainable enterprise. And because of that, they're trying to put these tools together inside a cloud, area, for lack of a better word, to enable businesses to make really intelligent, sustainable decisions based on around their business processes. And with the demand for transformation and digitization accelerating, SAP just sees an opportunity to provide all these services to businesses. SAP really wants their BTP revenue to at least hit the 50% mark by 2025. They want BTP to be their leading revenue generator. Beyond that, they are close. It is their number two revenue generator. They see about 70% of the RISE deals include BTP, and they want to get to 100% of those RISE deals to include BTP. So they've sold a lot of it. They're waiting on partners to get with businesses and customers who have purchased BTP to adopt BTP, to use it, to, like Avi said, to get users into the system to use SAP Build, use process automation, use all of these low code, no code tools in order to just accelerate their business growth.
Yeah, and maybe, Ethan, Juhi, from your perspectives too on this. I know whenever I talk to customers, they're like, "Hey, I have all of these licenses to BTP. What the heck is it, and what do I do with it?" Do you guys see that as well?
Yes, John. So I believe that in order to, implement a BTP in a client's environment, first the client should be mentally ready, or they should have the acceptance towards innovation and, automation. So they first need to be aware of what all services BTP is offering and how BTP can, give them features like high availability, scalability, and automatic disaster recovery, along with various options of integrating a number of line of business solutions and any external applications using APIs. So all the features like security and every aspect which you can think from an architectural point of view, BTP is very supportive of all these scenarios, and organizations need to adopt a DevOps mindset and agile methodologies to further move ahead with BTP. And I would recommend to really embrace it and move forward using the latest BTP tools.
Agreed. And that brings up a good point around SAP's clean core concept too, right? So where are we seeing some customers focus in using BTP to make sure they're keeping that SAP core clean? Do we have any examples of that?
I mean, the simple examples are often the best ways to start, right? So we see a lot of customers moving to the BTP Launchpad, now called SAP Works on Standard Edition, or the actual SAP Works on, which has become really a pretty nice tool for a sort of corporate internet solution, intranet solution. So that's the easy thing, right? Is just kind of move some of your front end apps to BTP, and stop building custom applications in S4. The kind of more compelling solutions and really interesting ones are moving your business logic out, the custom business logic out of your core. So when you need a custom workflow, or when you need some kind of inference to be running, to move that out to BTP or potentially another cloud solution. But when you've got BTP and it's just plug and play and it's relatively easy to hook up, and that's a pretty compelling option, especially if you're in Rise or something like that and already have, as you were saying, John, already have the licenses laying around.
That was one of the good changes too in the past couple of years that we saw within, I think it happened around this most recent name change from SAP Cloud Platform to the Business Technology Platform. and like Matthew said, I'm sure we're not done with those yet, but is the licensing. Like the licensing models became 100% easier, I think. And Matthew, you and I have talked about this a ton around the consumption models versus pay as you go versus who has a contract of services just built in. I remember, 3 or 4 years ago when SAP HANA Cloud Platform was just getting started, license agreements were horrendous. It was almost a joke to go to a client and try to get them into HANA Cloud Platform when they could just spin up an AWS service. And now I think that's 100% better and is way more of a use case of actually getting people into BTP now.
Yeah, that's a lot better. The other thing that's also a lot better is just the pricing story is a lot better. So there are still some like old school services that are sort of monolithic applications where pricing still is not really value based, and it can be difficult to get to a point where you're generating enough value to justify the investment. But for a ton of services in BTP now, it's very usage-based pricing and therefore very value-based pricing. So if you spin up a like Workzone Standard Edition Launchpad and nobody uses it, you're not really going to be paying much for it. But so you'll pay when you actually get the value out of these things. Same for like the AI Core, for example. You pay for training, but then for inference, you're just paying as it's used. So there are a lot more services that are like that now, and that's much more compelling, I think, trying to get on board than the sort of buy a tenant and pay for it monthly, whether you use it or not, sort of story. So it's much more cloud native, more tending towards the sort of serverless approach, and tending towards this approach of charging for usage and value. So it's a really good change overall, and I hope that SAP continues in that direction.
Right. Just wanted to add a couple of points. So the pay as you go is one of the good option, right? So where you will be just checking what services you wanted to use, and you have a clear guidelines on the costing, like how much its service cost. Based on that, you can do the calculations, and you can disable your services. Okay, you wanted to do the R&D work, you can enable the service for a month or two, and then you can disable it, or you can use it in the production, right? So there are a lot of advantages, and also the kind of automation, the kind of speed at which you can develop the solutions is very good compared to the previous development approaches, right? So that really gives a lot of advantage to the customers as part of their fast digital transformation journeys.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Avi was saying, SAP has a wonderful tool called the SAP Discovery Center, and it has all of the pricing laid out. That doesn't matter if you have an enterprise agreement, if you pay as you go, if you're subscription based, even if you're old license tier, all the pricing is still there. It also tells you if the service is free and what kind of what comes with the free part of all the services, because that's the best part about the free tier is you can get customers if they don't have a BTP agreement or a license. You can get customers into the platform, get customers into the system under that free tier plan. It doesn't cost them any money and allows them to just get in, put together a testing scenario or an R&D scenario that they can go through the services that they're interested in. So yeah, good points, Avi.
Wait, so Matthew, you're saying that I can, with SAP, go to a website and it will tell me what I'm going to pay for something?
Absolutely. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe, but yeah, I mean, and it's pretty
Yeah.
accurate. I mean, I've sat down and Discovery Center is pretty accurate. The only thing it doesn't do is take into account your discount that you've already negotiated with SAP. So, and you can still add that in at the end. So, yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty accurate.
it's good, and it's a
Yeah.
big change for SAP, and it's a really good change. Yep.
It's every time I tell a customer that they're amazed. They're like, "Wait, we know how much something's going to cost?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's
We
right
know it's
there.
available.
It tells you
I
how
don't
it,
have to get a
it
committee
even
of 10 lawyers together to figure it out.
it even tells you how it bills it, how it puts the pricing together, and yeah,
Now,
Right. So
this is
when
not
we're coming up with a concept that we want to use something for, and we can quantify the business value, we can also easily quantify what the cost is going to be. And so like this makes it just so much easier to come up with proposals that will generate business value. So it's great.
real business cases, real ROI. Now, in saying all this doesn't mean that some of those costs can't sneak up on you. As we even internally have found out, when we activate things, you pay for them right away. And if we deactivate things, then they disappear from your bill. So depending on consumption models and pay-as-you-go plans, it's a very easy thing to just want to spin up all these services and try everything out. Be mindful of that part of it. But this is probably a good part to kind of switch into discussion on some of the tool sets and some of the services that we see as really popular, and B, kind of going through a little bit of change for 2023. I think, SAP as the BTP platform probably won't change overall in its structure and how it's built and how it goes to market. I think what will change is what services we see ebb and flow as technologies kind of come and go, or they work on different tools, or new acquisitions come on board. And so we're seeing a lot of that for 2023 right now. And so I think maybe the first ones we can start with is some of the build tools. Abhi, you mentioned it right off the get-go, is some of the build process automation tool and the build apps tool. So I don't know, maybe Matthew and Abhi as more of the technical BTP actual developers on the call. Do you want to talk a little bit about build apps first and what that one is?
Yeah, build apps. It's the renamed version of AppGyver, where it was come under part of the build tool set as a build apps, where you can, with the low code, no code approach, you can develop forms, and you can simply. This is very useful, like when you wanted to convert some paper-based forms quickly, all those things you can simply drag and drop and create the forms and just roll out to the users. So there are many features SAP is trying to add. This really doesn't replace the complex Fiori applications, but it's pretty useful for you can call it as more than a prototype, but at the same time there can be like a lot of simple applications which can be automated using the build apps basically. Okay.
yeah, and like Avi said, they have no interest. SAP has no interest of replacing professional developers. They're just trying to enhance the experience for the citizen developers with this build ecosystem. SAP has that DHL application that they built completely on SAP Build. It's a production level freight planning and ordering application that they made just on SAP Build. And realistically, they made it on AppGyver, and they made it right after they purchased AppGyver, but they continue to use it as like their model, their example of a production ready application, complete with just a low code, no code design approach. With SAP Build, it fits directly into their entire end user ecosystem, moving from build apps to build process automation to build work zone, and all the way into build work zone advanced edition, like Ethan was talking about, which is really going to be a really useful tool for a lot of customers using it as a local intranet or a portal, for lack of a better word. So it fits into their vision, it fits into their model, and it is really easy to use. And you can go in there, build simple applications. They have templates that you can use to, start from. You don't have to start from scratch if you don't want to. They have little guides. it's very friendly. It feels welcoming. It feels friendly. It doesn't feel overly complicated. So yeah.
Yeah, it's, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a
Adding to
it's a
that,
really good
yeah.
tool. I mean, one thing that's kind of interesting, or can be a little bit tough about build and figuring out where it fits in to your strategy, is that when we look at, or when I look, I should say, at successful build apps and successful like low code, no code tool deployments, like the app that you mentioned, Matthew, like the DHL app, it wasn't really built by business users, right? It was built by SAP developers, but the tool allowed them to be much more efficient and effective about their development process. And even when I've seen deployments of build or of like Microsoft Power Apps and that kind of thing, like very similar tools within line of business, it's tended to be the case that there has been a sort of a technical person or persons who are embedded in line of business who are the ones who are driving that process. The tools can still be very frustrating and a little opaque for actual end users, actual business users. So I think there's a little bit of a ways to go there. Like certainly the product vision and the vision of the team that was developing AppGyver and is continuing to develop SAP Build apps is to get there, right? To replace Excel, to have a platform that is really approachable for business users. But that's going to be a journey, right? And right now, like absolutely no question, it is a really compelling tool for people who have some technical knowledge of how SAP works, whether it's like a techno-functional consultant or a functional lead even, but people who are kind of like technical, it's an awesome tool for them to enable them. And so, yeah, definitely think about that. But I wouldn't like just throw it at accountants and expect them to be able to build really awesome things with it. Some of them might. I mean, accountants have built some really incredible Visual Basic applications as well. I mean, when you're desperate, you got to do what you got to do.
Say sometimes you
yeah.
get to a business and they have this overly complicated, like either VB applications, like you said, or Excel
Exactly.
built products, and you're just like, wow, you are developers. You're just a different kind of developer. But
Exactly.
no,
And for those people, it's a really, it's potentially great.
Yeah, it's SAP is not replacing the professional developer. And Avi, you pointed that out. The professional developer isn't going anywhere. Those technical consultants, those technical developers, they're not going anywhere. But I would also even argue that maybe SAP Build is also kind of a starting point for people that are interested in design study, that SAP Build would be a good tool for them to learn specific design and design study. They don't have to necessarily learn how to code the UX piece, but they can work on design. They can work on guideline following. They can really kind of build out kind of their own tool sets or prototypes using SAP Build. We could, following this build conversation, we can transition straight into build process automation, John. I've build process automation is very new. Talking to other people will say, well, yeah, we do automation, we do build process automation, but you can't really say that because it's only been out for about 30 days. But they wanted to combine build process automation. They wanted to combine workflow, document information extraction, and IRPA all into one. A big complaint that SAP got with IRPAs is that it was overly complicated, that it was very complicated to set up. Citizen developers couldn't figure it out. They couldn't copy simple processes. They couldn't set up their own, even from the templates that SAP provided, they couldn't set that up. So it's still a work in progress, but the way that build process automation looks now, it does look better. It's more friendly. It fits into that build lobby. So it's the same screen that you get with SAP Build, still within that lobby. They just add in all of those automation tools. But the UI on the automation side is better. There's no need to run local agents anymore if you don't want to. I mean, of course, you can run local agents, especially when you're doing things on your local machine. But if you're just doing cloud demos or cloud service-based demos, you can run agents from BTP itself. But it's a lot. The buttons make more sense in build process automation. That's the best thing to say. Like the buttons make more sense, the UI makes more sense, it feels better. I still think SAP has a ways to go to make automation more citizen developer friendly, but I think they're on the way.
Yeah, very good points, Matthew. So, especially right, looking at the target where SAP wanted to go on the automation space. This build process automation is the one of the major steps, right? So you have S1 tool where you can do process automation like document extraction or use any of the standard AI services, and then you wanted to go for approvals using the workflows, and then use the in case if you required agents to automate some of the tasks, everything comes under one umbrella, and you just use the cloud IDE where you can all automate all these things, like you design your process how you wanted to define there, right? So this is it's a still long way to go, but still there is a good set of tool set available to explore and try how this build process automation helps in the business transformation. Still, I mean, it may not be quickly ready for the citizen developers as soon as now, but definitely developers and see the ultimate goal is like how quick we can deliver a solution to the customer, right? So this is one of the tools definitely where we can automate a lot of processes, and there may be definitely there are some challenges we need to overcome, but there is a good start where we can start applying more business process in this one.
Yes, Abhi, you're right. So as far as SAP Build is concerned, not only the business unit users are benefited as they can also now build the apps, but at the same time the professional users also have an advantage because they are the ones who actually know how to build apps using the SAP Build. So it becomes really easy for them to just identify the business gap and quickly cater to it, and quickly send the solution to the market. So it leaves a lot of bandwidth for them to work on more complex tasks like innovation and design.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just, in terms of acceleration of development capabilities, we need that everywhere. It's a huge problem, right? There are like 100x more work that needs to be done than there are people to do it in most enterprises. And so it's just anything we can do to make it go faster is really, really helpful.
It's interesting to me how many services they're trying to bundle into that process automation tool set. We used to work before within workflow and RPA and other different pinpoint services. I think they finally found that this is a complete end-to-end process, right? We want to automate an end-to-end process. And so yes, there's different technologies and tools behind that, but to Matthew and Abhi and Juhi's points, they're pulling it all together to make it a little bit more accessible and available to other people. So I thought it was a really good move on their part. Next tool set on the list is work zones. There's now 2 different work zones. This was an interesting rebranding for me, where I don't think we used a ton of work zone last year in the intranet sites. They were super popular. People asked about them. But for the most part, we were using a lot of SAP Portal Launchpads and the Launchpad service. And now this year, this is now a workzone service. Question for the group: is this just a rebrand, or what is it?
I mean, in the initial rollout, yes, it's just a rebrand, right? Nothing really has changed in terms of the service available. But I think in terms of the vision, like if we look at what was talked about at TechHead and then and a little bit about what's come out since then, if we look at the vision, I think the vision is to sort of align and rethink the way that SAP applications are presented to the end user. So the SAP Start concept is that the SAP Start and SAP Mobile Start concept is kind of the idea of this is just what comes with your apps, right? You buy SuccessFactors, you buy Concur, you buy you buy like customer cloud for customer. This is what you get. But then what can we put on top of that? Like if we want to customize it, well, SAP had two different answers there, right? They had the Launchpad service and they had the work zones. And I think that work zones is kind of the future for a lot of this stuff, where it's more Web 2.0, it's more user manageable. There are a lot of features there, but there needed to be a middle ground, and most people right now are using the Launchpad service. So I think probably long term, I'm guessing the idea is that Launchpad service will start to share technology with WorkZone and just be a more limited feature set of what's available in WorkZone Enterprise Edition. So hopefully there'll be a little bit of a consolidation.
Convergence.
Yeah, we can dream.
Right. Yeah, from the few more points on the work zone. So yeah, it's basically the rebranding of Launchpad services, exactly the same one, but now again it lit confusion for the users. On S4HANA, it is still called Launchpad service on the on-premises system, and BTP we call it as Work Zone Standard Edition. But ultimately both are serving the same purpose. But SAP is more focusing on moving the complete Launchpad to Work Zone Standard Edition, right? So basically you just use your business applications with your standard catalogs, groups, and explore the content from different sources. Work Zone Edition, Standard Edition is where you can go and do that. And for the advanced edition, definitely you have more features where you can use it as intranet portal kind of, where you can have content and you can have more integrations, kind of applications, right? So it will be for all advanced users. Like another simple example is for WorkZone Advanced Edition, you need IDP setup, right? Matthew can add more details. He recently worked on it and it's successfully set up in our system. So there are use cases, but again, SAP NetWeaver portal, customers are settled down on the Launchpad service. There was no portal exist for a few years. Now we have this WorkZone Advanced Edition where we have the option to get back to that kind of same business portal where you can have all these additionals, right? So for example, you wanted to have a supplier portal, you can roll out a separate one on the cloud and expose the applications with low fear, right? Earlier it was a very toughest thing. Put it on the on-premises, open your VPN ports, worry about security, a lot of complications. Now it's much more easier than earlier. Right? Many use cases, but definitely it's a very big topic. We can have more discussion about all the details.
Well, it follows that clean core model where you're keeping things off of your on-prem and keeping things on BTP with Advanced Edition, especially with its integration with if you want to integrate it with even other besides your on-prem, like digital core, if you want to integrate, you have other applications that are hosted elsewhere, even on different, even outside of BTP or on other hyperscalers or something like that. So I think it's very important. I think it's a really good tool.
Yeah. And moving on to the next service offering that we really kind of look at. We've seen some things deprecated this past year, right? The machine learning service was deprecated. The IoT service was deprecated a little while ago. So for those of you wishing back for the days of the Leonardo branding, sorry, that one's gone.
Yeah.
But now there's AI Core and AI Launchpad. So what are these? This was a tech ed announcement, I think.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, it was. It's
I think it's, go ahead. Sorry, man.
yeah. So AI Core and AI Launchpad are very, very new. And like you said, machine learning deprecated, conversational AI, IoT, all that deprecated. And really, what they did without communicating this to anyone is that they weren't making these go away. They just were rolling them into the AI Core, rolling them into the AI Launchpad, because SAP also recognized that they don't really want to be an AI leader. They want to help you integrate with other AI leaders, because in the end, I think that's going to make SAP more money than spending on the resources developing the world's greatest AI. I think they're going to make more money giving you the tools to be able to integrate with other AIs, and also with SAP's different AI offerings. I mean, they're not completely stepping away. They have pre-built tools inside this AI core, but no, they're providing an area that allows you to integrate with AIs, bring them into your SAP ecosystem, so you can, I mean, go back to Ethan's point earlier about making business processes easier for users. There's too much stuff to do. Let's start to integrate AI and make the end user experience better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it took a little while for the AI Launchpad AI Core concept to sort of solidify and become a little more clear what they're thinking. But I think it's really in line with SAP's new BTP strategy that started rolling out, I think, 2 years ago, which is a strategy that finally makes sense, which is we don't need like our own little walled garden where we're going to try to compete with all the hyperscalers for our customers' cloud business. We need to be focused as SAP on our core competency, which is providing business services, right? So that's what SAP knows how to do. They know business process. They know what businesses need. They know how enterprises operate. So how can we make a tool, BTP in this case, but how can we make a tool that helps our customers to be able to leverage the cloud and get value from the cloud for their businesses? So like that made a ton of sense. So instead of these sort of like infrastructure level tools, what SAP is trying to bring with their BTP tools, when they succeed, I think, is how do we make it so that it's easy to integrate hyperscaler infrastructure into our customers' IT landscapes and leverage that infrastructure in their SAP systems. So AI Core and AI Launchpad really fit within that model, where the idea is not that we're going to provide like sort of custom built tools that are running on our own infrastructure to build your AI solutions. What SAP is providing with AI Core is just a sort of generic AI workflow model that is set up in a way that it's really easy to integrate with the rest of BTP and SAP's S4 systems and all that stuff. So if you bring your model in there, it's easy to integrate it. It's easy to leverage it from SAP's other tools. But it's running on the hyperscalers. You can train it on hyperscalers. You can train it in the AI Core. But it's up to you to create that model, which is going to be beyond the capability of most customers. So AI is hard. It's really hard to get it right and build these models. And so I think it's going to fall to partners in the ecosystem to come up with models and publish them and make them available to use. And AI Core makes that a lot. It provides a structure for that, which I think is really good.
Yeah, I'm really happy you mentioned about SAP's positioning at the event that we were at in Palo Alto. SAP made it very clear that they have no interest in competing with the hyperscalers. They're actually trying to work with the hyperscalers.
Exactly.
And by 2027, I believe is what he said, he wants every hyperscaler to have every service. And they're slowly working on this. They're slowly working on this availability right now. AWS is their best partner. That is their friendliest partner right now, AWS. They also provide AWS is better equipped with the 24/7, 365 uptime that John has talked about a lot, where customers want their systems to be operational 24/7. But SAP has no interest in competing with hyperscalers, and like you said, Ethan, they have no interest in building everything. They don't want to build everything. They don't want to build and sell everything. They want to integrate, and they want to help customers, help businesses integrate with all of their third-party solutions in a hyperscaler agnostic way. So that's just the real big thing with AI Core is it's just like anything else on BTP. It's a service that's available. It has a free tier. You can try it out for free, but it just provides seamless integration, and it allows you to, integrate with those AI functions and those full life cycle processes that you were talking about. So, yeah.
In a simple terminology, if you have for advanced users, you use core for the train your model and integrate and use it. Launchpad is like AI as a service. So something is available, use it. That's it. It's as simple as that. You have the capability to build more complex, go for SAP core and do whatever you want there.
That makes sense.
We'll see how that plays out. I mean, there's a lot of promise, but there's a lot to be built there still, I think.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Julie.
So I remember a really cool chatbot called FAQ chatbot. So it was like really easy to build that chatbot just by uploading a question, an Excel sheet in question and answer format, and this chatbot would just act like a really cool chatbot on the user interface. So I don't know with this change whether such services which were earlier there in BTP are still there, or what is there.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that because conversational AI is end of life, right? So the chatbot solution is gone. And SAP, for all of these tools, like for all the other ML tools that you're talking about, Matthew, like SAP always says, well, there's no direct successor, which means that SAP doesn't have to support you migrating to the new tool. But most of those are in AI Core. But honestly, I can't find conversational AI anywhere in AI Core or AI Launchpad right now. So I'm not sure what the story is there. Like, is the story just, well, go use AWS Lex or something? Might make sense. I'm not sure what SAP's story is for conversational AI.
Yeah, so conversational AI is end of life, and they're not continuing it. There were rumors that it was going to be available in AI Core because SAP has pre-packaged AI solutions, like small ones that they've put together. Conversational AI is not one of them. We didn't really believe them, but about a year ago they came out and said that they don't see a future with chatbots in SAP. And I think kind of the future is SAP wants you to leverage other customers, but they want you to use BTP to host those things. So go to AWS or go to Google or go to Microsoft, go to other large AI leaders to get your chatbot, but here we have an AI Core and an AI Launchpad that you can host these things on. And I think that's kind of how SAP is going to go for the future with even other services. Is I don't see them spending the resources to develop these things while also developing the platform to host them. I think they're going to give you all the tool sets needed to integrate, but go to third parties to get those specific tool sets, or go to partners. Maybe who knows? Maybe Mindset invents a conversational AI platform. You never know.
Could happen.
You should see what's on my whiteboard, Matthew.
That's blurred out behind you. I don't know what's
there's a reason for that.
So sadly, we're probably not going to have time to talk about all 87 services hosted on AWS today, but we could keep going. But no, I think we're going to transition to wrapping up here a little bit. I think we're going to talk about BTP quite a lot this year, and some good topics came out during this as well. Like we never touched on integration suite at all, and it's a huge area of focus for BTP. We never talked about analytics at all, so we could devote really good time to a lot of those topics. One note on the analytics front was it March 8th or March 9th? There's going to be an announcement. It's I think plastered all over SAP's website on a data stay tuned for that. But to wrap up here, I wanted to kind of leave each person with a question to answer around BTP and how they see it. So maybe we'll start with Juhi. So what we wanted to look at was, as we work with our customers, as our developers go onto projects with our customers, what are some of the triggers that you listen for, you look for in being able to get them into the BTP journey or talk about BTP architecture?
Yeah, so there are a number of things which drive innovation using BTP, and like these can be the business drivers or the technology drivers. So when we talk about business drivers, we take in account things like market trends and economic trends, like doorstep banking due to COVID, or then there are regulatory requirements like monitoring of supply chains and country-specific accounting practices. So these are some of the business trends, and then there can be technology drivers also, like maybe somebody wants to simplify their architecture, or they want to simplify their security mechanism. So all these are the drivers which we look for in our customers' environment to come up with solutions using BTP. And one of the best methodologies which SAP has provided for finding out these business gaps is SAP Activate methodology, which consists of mainly 4 phases: explore, discover, prepare, explore, and realize. So in discover phase, we come up with the initial scope of the requirement, and then we go about doing the business-driven configuration in the prepare phase. And then in explore phase, we compare, we try to map business processes with the standard processes provided by SAP. And this gives rise to a backlog, which then, which consists of configuration items and development items. And these backlogs are the basis of, implementation happening in the realized phase. And these backlogs also tell us the actual business gap which BTP can fulfill. So, yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Judy. All right, we'll move to Ethan next. So within Mindset and within our internal technology delivery groups, you've been putting together kind of a technology vision overall for the company, kind of where we focus, where we look into different technologies out there as an SAP partner. Where do you see BTP fitting in this picture with all the different things that we do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an important area. Not all of our customers are interested in using BTP, but many of them are, and it's a place where we definitely already have a focus and are looking to ramp up more. For our developers, what I'm encouraging people to work on is, and it fits right in with the new BTP approach, is that people should work on the industry standard technologies that underlie BTP as well as all the hyperscalers. So we should be getting better at building containerized applications. We should be getting better at building serverless applications. We should be getting better at building native and near native mobile applications. So native being like actual iOS and Android apps, near native being Flutter, React Native, those kinds of apps, which can be great and pretty much indistinguishable in many cases. So that's what I'm asking our sort of technology teams to work on, is like get really good at those technologies that underpin BTP, so that you can build apps in there really easily, and then we can leverage BTP really well for our customers when that comes up. And if a customer is not interested in BTP, they're an AWS customer or an Azure customer, and they don't have that interest, then I mean, we'll certainly talk with them about what some of the advantages are. But from our perspective, the important thing is to be able to bring great user experience using cloud application development approaches. So we'll do it on AWS.
Absolutely. All right, Avi, we build a lot of accelerators for customers that they can easily deploy. What is your favorite thing about working on BTP to do this?
The quick development. So it's the same the approach what we follow, right? So you can do a lot of customization development on the BTP. So some of the use cases, we hosted our app library on BTP, right? So where our the developers and sales teams can go and find out what are the solutions we built, available solutions, and they can quickly pick that, and we can just play around with that, and we can show it to the customers. And all our accelerators are on BTP, right? So the easiness of deployment, and bringing into the life is very good. And one of the favorite is how quickly you can set up your launchpad, and you can roll out different sites. Like, so this was not possible earlier. So now we have one site for sales team, we have one site for the accelerators, and we dedicated one site for the development team, like that. So we have many features like that. So this is where we are as a development team, we are experiencing and feeling the power of BTP internally.
Yeah, very quick to move, which is really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, I'll give Matthew the last word here. So, what is, if you're going to pick one thing that you were going to take away to tell people from all the different BTP events that you've been to in the last few months, what would it be?
It's the one thing that I've always talked about ever since I left to California is I think the biggest takeaway is SAP's aggressive revenue goal with BTP. They have this 10-year vision and this hyper aggressive revenue goal, which what just tells us that BTP is going to get even more important into the future. So with S4 end of life and post S4, where they're moving into kind of that ERP in a cloud hub environment, I think BTP, albeit it's going to get renamed, they're going to name it something else in the future, but it's not going away. I don't think this cloud infrastructure is going to go away. So the biggest takeaway is SAP's aggressive revenue goal, which just shows and just underpins that the importance that BTP has with SAP and their relationship with existing hyperscalers. So
For sure. Awesome. Well, I think that's going to wrap up the episode here. So thanks everyone for joining today. Obviously, we'll have more podcasts out there in the future on BTP and other topics. One quick note, if you're more interested in BTP and want to join a few of our roundtables, we host roundtables every month. It just happens to be that February 23rd will be our next roundtable, and that one's going to be completely focused on SAP BTP. So feel free to jump in and join that from the Mindset Consulting website. Just look under events and you can register there. And we will see you there to talk about anything in your BTP catalog.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Perfect. Well, thanks
everyone.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers. Until next time.